Just a reminder before today's programme that the previous instalment of the AMTV DVD Collection is still available for you to view, that being Part 9. And now, here on AMTV, we return to the DVD Collection for Part 10. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and welcome back to Part 10 of the AMTV DVD. We're already on Part 10, that's crazy. In the previous parts we looked at the Disney stuff here and down there, looked at the Simpsons collection, looked at the South Park collection, so now we will go to the bottom shelf to take a look at all the films that won Best Picture. We're ignoring these ones here as those are my brother's DVDs, so I don't count them as part of the collection, that's his own thing. So we'll go to the bottom and get started. So Down Down Baby is here are all the Best Picture films. Now you can see I've had to stack these a lot because I mean there's nearly 90 films and these shelves only allow I think like 50 per row, so I'm gonna have to go through this quite interestingly. As a disclaimer, I own I think every film that's won Best Picture bar 2. I'm missing 2. I think one of them is the Broadway Melody of 1930, which is like the second winner ever. I think that's only available on import. And I'm missing Chimeron, which is also an early 30s film that you can only get on import currently. But I think I own everything else. We'll see as we go through. So let's get started with the few down here. I'll have to move those aside. So starting with the first winner ever, that would be Wings, which was released in 1927 but took the awards for the first awards were actually in 1929. I've got this on Blu-ray because the only way to get this on DVD Region 2 is to get either an import or like a knockoff Chinese DVD. It's a Master of Cinema release and lovely poster artwork here. Silent film as well. There you go, first ever Academy Award winner. Okay, 1927 to 28, I stand corrected. So it stars Clara Bow, amongst others, and on the back, I mean, there's so many special features. For a film this old, nearly 100 years old, I've always been looking forward to delve into this. I haven't watched it yet. You'll see with a lot of these films, I haven't actually watched them because there's so much to get through, but yeah, nice to own the very first one. So as I said, no second Broadway Melody because I don't own it, but I do own this, All Quiet on the Western Front, which came out in 1930 and swept Best Picture. Yeah, do you know what? For a 90-year-old film now, this holds up incredibly well. It's a sound film, it's about, you know, nearly 2 hours long or just over. But for a film this old, it has so much emotional impact. I mean, the First World War at that point was only 12 years old, so it had a lot of impact on people, I guess, especially who maybe fought through it. Yeah, really recommend this one. Great war movie, great movie for its age. Check it out. Now you have this one, Grand Hotel, starring Greta Garbo and John Barrymore, Joan Crawford, really big names, really. Won Best Picture for 1932, and I haven't seen it. Now, this one, It Happened One Night. This was a 30s. I think this was more of a screwball comedy, but it's got Clark Gable, who was a huge name at the time, and that's light reflecting there. And I also haven't seen this one. Okay, I got the first clump off here, and we have Mutiny on the Bounty from 1935. And again, a lot of these I haven't seen, so I think any I haven't, I am just going to have to breeze by. But I've heard it's a classic film. Clark Gable's in it again. So yeah, this one was hard to find on DVD as well, but I think it's gotten easier. You have The Great Ziegfeld from 1936. Apparently this is a really long movie, and there were debates that this wasn't the best film of the year, but hey, it's here. This one was hard to track down. This is The Life of Emile Zola. Now, this is actually a Region 1 DVD. I found this like randomly in a DVD shop in Manchester, and I was like, I gotta buy this. Because yeah, this is one you can only get on a Region 1 import for some reason, starring Paul Muni. I haven't seen it, but you got to make sure you got a Region 3 DVD player. I got this from 1938, You Can't Take It With You. It's a Frank Capra film, actually, who went on to make It's a Wonderful Life, amongst others, which for some reason didn't win Best Picture. But James Stewart stars in this, you know, later went on to many Hitchcock movies. And these slipcases, for anyone wondering, this is a HMV thing. I think they call it Hollywood Classics, you know, with the lit up border and stuff, and it's the same on the back. They've carried on the aesthetic there. So yeah, these are quite prominent for your classic films, so HMV is a good shout. True classic, you have Gone with the Wind from 1939. And this is a big old box set. It won 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, of course, in 1939. And this is the 4-disc collector's edition. I mean, this is absolutely a huge, huge beast with several parts to it and all that sort of stuff. But see, parts 1 and 2 is the movie, because the movie is so damn long. I do need to watch it properly. I've only ever seen snippets, but yeah, you've got to dedicate, like, you know, several hours of your time. Now, something from Alfred Hitchcock. We have Rebecca from 1940. Yes, Alfred Hitchcock did win Best Picture one year, believe it or not. And I haven't seen it, but I do like my Alfred Hitchcock stuff, so I'm very excited to watch this one. And aren't they they're either remaking Rebecca or they're making a TV series, something like that. You have Mrs. Miniver from 1941, Walter Pidgeon, he's a pretty big name. You have How Green Was My Valley from 1942, again starring Walter Pidgeon, so he would have been pleased. Okay, from 1943 you have Casablanca, which is known as one of the greatest films of all time. You know, Humphrey Bogart's in it. And it has lots of famous lines in it too, and I haven't seen it. Here you go, from 1944, you've got Going My Way with Bing Crosby. More of an uplifting film by the looks of it. You have The Lost Weekend, which, as you can see in the top right, I got an Oxfam for £1.99, so quite cheap. Stars Ray Milland and Jane Wyman. You have The Best Years of Our Lives, which, as it rightly says, is only exclusive to HMV. That cover is. Anyway, this was a hard DVD to track down Region 2, but thankfully HMV put this out as part of their Hollywood Classic series, and it just helped me get it, basically. From 1947, you have Gentleman's Agreement, which stars Gregory Peck, who would later go on to star in To Kill a Mockingbird, another HMV release. Now, here's an interesting one. From 1948, you had Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet, but starring, world-renowned actor Laurence Olivier. From 1949, you have All the King's Men, which, funnily enough, it won't focus on the side, but there it says, can be played on PlayStation 2. That's how old this DVD is. 1950, you have All About Eve, starring the very famous Bette Davis. And starring the equally famous Gene Kelly in 1951, you had An American in Paris. Continuing in the 50s, you had from 1952 The Greatest Show on Earth, starring, James Stewart's in it, Charlton Heston as well. In 1953, you had From Here to Eternity, which had Burt Lancaster and Frank Sinatra in it, amongst others. 1954 was On the Waterfront, starring Marlon Brando. 1955 was Marty. 1956 was a true classic, as it was Around the World in 80 Days. 1957 was The Bridge Over the River Kwai, starring William Holden and Alec Guinness in one of his most famous roles. From 1958 you have Gigi, the musical, and for some reason this was really hard to track down on Region 2. It can be done, but it just seems a bit difficult. 1959 you had The Beast That Was Ben-Hur, the religious epic. Now, I'm not religious, but I remember we watched this in school over several weeks, and I really enjoyed it as a story. It's a 4-disc collector's edition, like Gone with the Wind. And funnily enough, this actually has the silent version of Ben-Hur, I think. The 1923? Yes, the 1925 silent version, which I think is a really cool special feature. I love it when they do that. But this also holds the record with 2 other movies for having the most Oscars won. This one, 11 Oscars. Can you guess the other 2 before we get to them? Now we have The Apartment from 1960, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred McRory. 1961, you have the classic West Side Story, obviously famous musical. I have seen this one, and it's wonderful. Won 10 Academy Awards, would you believe? You have the classic Lawrence of Arabia, another religious epic. Haven't seen this one yet, but it won 7 Academy Awards in 1962. 1963, you had Tom Jones, which is a funny old film. This, again, was so difficult to find on DVD for some reason in Region 2, but alas, we got it. You have My Fair Lady from 1964, and for some reason for ages this was hard to find Region 2, but HMV have done one of their re-releases. But yeah, Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison. 1965, you have the beloved The Sound of Music. I don't think there's a soul alive who doesn't like this film. It's very long, but you know, it won it for a reason. Haven't seen this yet, but there is A Man for All Seasons starring Paul Scofield, and this one in 1966. And in 1967, you have In the Heat of the Night. You already saw this as part of the other shelf in a Sidney Poitier box set, but it's a really great film with him and Rod Steiger. Just honestly, watch it if you haven't seen it. Okay, so now moving on to the stuff that I can stack on the shelf. From 1968, you have Oliver. Yes, the musical Oliver won Best Picture, would you believe? I was always surprised by this, but hey, you know, if people liked it, they liked it. Rounding off the 60s, you have Midnight Cowboy, starring Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight. I haven't seen this one yet, but an 18 film, you know, winning Best Picture. Wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last. 1970, you had Patton, starring George C. Scott in what a lot of people consider his definitive role. 1971, you have The French Connection. This is a very budget DVD release. There are much better releases to get at this, but it stars Gene Hackman. One of the most iconic films of all time, The Godfather. Winner of Best Picture, of course. I mean, what is there to say about The Godfather? It's so iconic. Everyone knows it. 1973, you had this. You had The Sting, which won 7 awards according to the box. And I haven't seen it yet, but it's got Robert Redford and Paul Newman, 2 actors I do like a lot. And would you believe it, Godfather Part 2 won Best Picture in 1974. I got this from CEX, clearly. But yeah, I think it's the first and only time a sequel has won Best Picture as well. But I mean, it is such a good sequel. So good. 1975, you have One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, starring Jack Nicholson. I mean, what is there to say? It's a wonderful, wonderful movie. Very harrowing in places, but an absolute must-watch. 1976, you had Rocky. That's right, for anyone who didn't know, Rocky won Best Picture. And I can see why with the first one. Like, the first one is a great movie. The sequels all sort of go downhill a little bit, but that first one, really great stuff. 1977, you have Annie Hall, starring Woody Allen, a somewhat controversial figure in this industry. I haven't seen Annie Hall yet. A lot of his films were seen as quite abstract, but I've heard it's meant to be somewhat decent. 1978, you had The Deer Hunter, starring Robert De Niro. This is a 2-disc special edition, and Robert De Niro is a great actor. I do need to get round to this one, though. 1979, rounding off the 70s, you have Kramer vs. Kramer, starring Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep, and that is not the first nor last time you will see both of those on here. I mean, look, it won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, Best Screenplay Adapted. It swept the board, man. 1980, you have this, Ordinary People. I haven't seen it. This was hard to get on Region 2 for quite a while, so yeah, keep your eyes peeled if you want that one. 1981, you have Chariots of Fire. Classic soundtrack. I need to watch the movie still, but yeah, you'll know the soundtrack. That looks like a really bad CGI torch on there. 1982, you had Gandhi, starring Ben Kingsley as the titular figure. A film by Richard Attenborough as well, won 8 Academy Awards. I haven't seen this yet, but I know it's a very, very long film. Moving on to 1983, you have Terms of Endearment, starring Deborah Winger, Shirley MacLaine, and Jack Nicholson, of all people. I haven't seen this. It looks like a typical 80s movie, but I do need to get round to it. 1984, you had Amadeus, Amadeus, inspiring the Falco song the next year about Mozart. I haven't seen this, but apparently, again, a lot of people loved it at the time, which is good. 1985, you have Out of Africa, starring Robert Redford and Meryl Streep, two people who are no strangers to receiving Oscars at this point. 1986, it's back to war movies. You have Platoon, which is, yeah, to be honest, it is one of the great war movies. I mean, I've seen it. It's wonderful. And obviously a very harrowing soundtrack. Great use of Adagio for strings, if memory serves. 1987, you had The Last Emperor, which I haven't seen, but it won 9 Academy Awards, so it must have been, you know, quite heralded at the time. And I know it's a long film, but I need to get to that. Well, I have seen this one. This is Rain Man from 1988 with Dustin Hoffman, again, and Tom Cruise. Yeah, just a really great film, and it's hard to explain it, but I'd say watch it. Very harrowing in places, but a very important film, and I'm glad it won Best Picture. Moving on to 1989, I've seen this as well. This is Driving Miss Daisy, starring Morgan Freeman, Jessica Tandy, and Dan Aykroyd. And Jessica Tandy won Best Actress. I think she's the oldest to win Best Actress. Very simple film, but, you know, I can see why it won Best Picture. In 1990, you had Dances with Wolves, featuring Kevin Costner. This is a long-ass movie. I haven't seen it all the way through yet, but I do need to. I mean, it won Best Picture. So 1991, you had The Silence of the Lambs, which was a bit of a surprise winner for Best Picture. I don't think a lot of people expected a pseudo-horror film to win, but I'm glad it did. It's a wonderful and wonderfully creepy film. You have Unforgiven from 1992. I haven't seen this, but it's a Western. I think a Western hasn't won it for a very long time. You got lots of big names: Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris. What's not to love about that cast? 1993, you have a really harrowing film. This is Schindler's List. Yeah, if you haven't seen this, if you're like upset easily, this might be one to avoid, but it's a very great film, very powerful film as well. 1994, you have, of course, Forrest Gump featuring Tom Hanks. A wonderful film. Tom Hanks smashes it out of the park like he always does. Yeah, just watch it if you haven't seen Forrest Gump. 1995, you have the historically questionable Braveheart, starring Mel Gibson, of all people, a Australian as a Scotsman. Who would have thunk it? It's a decent film, though. I enjoyed watching it. Very long, maybe a bit too long, but a decent movie nonetheless. 1996, you have The English Patient, starring Ralph Fiennes, amongst other people, Willem Dafoe. Haven't seen this one, but it was the best picture of the year I was born, so it must be good, right? I mean, it won 9 of them, it says, so it must mean something. 1997, you have the Titanic movie, and if you hadn't guessed it already, this is one of the 3 films that tied with Gone with the... Ben-Hur, sorry, not Gone with the Wind, for most Oscars won. This won 11 Oscars at the time, including Best Picture. The film's too long, it's not perfect, the first hour pretty much bores me, but, you know, for what it is, I can see why it won Best Picture. I think, well, we all can see why it won, don't we? 1998, you have Shakespeare in Love, which was a surprising win, I think. But it won 7 Academy Awards. It's got Gwyneth Paltrow, Joseph Fiennes, Geoffrey Rush, Colin Firth, Ben Affleck, and Judi Dench. Big names in there. So, yeah, got that one. 1999, you have American Beauty, starring Kevin Spacey and Annette Bening. I haven't seen this one yet. Kevin Spacey's a somewhat controversial figure now, but a lot of people like it, or some people don't get it. 2000, you had, flip it the right way, you had Gladiator, starring Russell Crowe. Haven't seen this one either, but apparently it's quite a long film. It's a Ridley Scott film. It won 5 Academy Awards. Reminds me of all the, like, religious-y epics as well. Russell Crowe made a comeback in 2001 as he wins again with A Beautiful Mind, which won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, about a mathematician. I haven't seen this one yet, but I think I'll be interested to. 2002, you had Chicago. Again, a surprising win, a musical win, the first time in forever. Won 6 Academy Awards. It's got Catherine Zeta-Jones, Richard Gere, Renee Zellweger. Again, a lot of big names, but I'm just amazed that, a musical won for the first time in so long. Okay, 2003, you had Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, the third part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and this is the third film that won 11 Oscars, quite rightly so. I have seen it. I don't own the first 2 parts of Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, I think, is overrated. I think it's a great franchise, don't get me wrong, but I've just never been that into it. But, I'm glad to have the extended box set version here. 2004, you have $1 Million Baby, which I think it's a film about boxing. I haven't watched it yet, but it's got Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman, Hilary Swank, a lot of recognizable names. 2005, you have Crash, which some people cite as the worst Oscar winner film ever, but it's by the same writer of $1 Million Baby. Again, a lot of big names in it, but I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of people say it's bad. 2006, you had The Departed, which has Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Mark Wahlberg. Again, a lot of recognizable names in there. Haven't seen it yet either. Honestly, guys, there's so many films I need to watch, including this one, No Country for Old Men, which won it in 2007, starring Tommy Lee Jones, Javier Bardem, and Josh Brolin. Apparently it's good. Some people don't say it is. I've seen this, though. One of my favourite films ever is Slumdog Millionaire. The story of course, the Indian lad who went on the Indian version of Wants to Be a Millionaire and won it big. Great feel-good film. Watch it, watch it, watch it. You will not be disappointed by this one, that's a promise. 2009, you have The Hurt Locker, which is meant to be a very powerful film. I haven't seen it yet, but it stars, who is it? It's Jeremy Renner as the main part. I have seen this, 2010's The King's Speech. Very, again, a powerful film. We all love the British, apparently, starring Colin Firth and Geoffrey Rush. It won 4 Academy Awards and 7 BAFTAs, because, of course it would. 2011, you had The Artist, a silent film, and I'm really glad this won. A lot of people don't like it, but I really like the silent style and how it tried to evoke that era. I mean, it won 7 BAFTAs and 5 Oscars, so yeah, I'm all for the fact that The Artist swept the board that year, as it were. 2012, you had Argo, starring Ben Affleck. Haven't seen this film, but a lot of people, especially at the time, said it was, absolutely wonderful, one of the best films ever, so I do need to check it out at some point. Poor Affleck. 2013, you had 12 Years a Slave, featuring Chetwell Ejiofor. Again, very powerful film about slavery. Probably one of the more accurate portrayals about slavery. It's very real. It's very on the nose. So again, if you're upset easily, you might not want to watch it, but I'd say you should watch it. It's very important. 2014, you had Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, starring Michael Keaton as the lead. A very bizarre film. I think that was what it was going for. It's very abstract, but I'm glad that abstract films can still win at the Oscars, as this one did. 2015 was Spotlight, and this is a very great film, about journalism and how, I guess, it can be used for good in this sense. Michael Keaton's in it again as well. I'd say it's a very safe choice for the Oscars, it's very, it only won Best Picture, but it won nonetheless. Now, in 2016, from Spotlight to Moonlight. This film's an odd one because a lot of people loved it, and it's a very interesting film. I'd argue it shouldn't have won Best Picture, but look at all those 5-star reviews, so I think you need to watch it and make your own mind up. 2017, you had The Shape of Water, which I'm glad won because not a lot of people expected it to. It's more of like a sci-fi fantasy thing. Really great film, though. Now, from abstract to probably the safest of safe, Green Book for 2018's award. Yeah, this was safe. Good film, very good film, but a very safe choice. The taker for the 2019 was Parasite, and I'm glad it did. This is a wonderful, wonderful film. South Korean film as well. First foreign film to win Best Picture. And yeah, if you haven't seen Parasite, it's got subtitles, but you honestly forget that they're there. They're not that important. So yeah, check out Parasite. And that, dear viewers, is all the Best Picture films that I currently own. As I say, I'm only missing 2 or 3, but it is nice to have the vast majority of them, and when I eventually get round to watching the vast majority of them, I'm sure I'm going to have a wonderful time. But that does actually conclude this whole shelf. Part 10 finishes off this whole secondary shelf, and would you believe we aren't done yet? There's still 1 or 2 more shelves I need to take you through. It's probably going to be a few more parts, so if you're enjoying it, you're in luck. There's going to be even more parts than ever before, so I hope you join me on the road for that. Please leave a like on this video and let me know in the comments, do you own any films that won Best Picture? Do you plan on getting them all? Do you have any particular favourites? Please subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and until the next one, I will see you guys next time. A massive thank you to our producer and director patrons for your support towards us here at AMTV. You just help keep us going, and that's massively appreciated. And that does bring us to the end of another evening here on AMTV. We hope you enjoyed the programme, and we hope to see you next time. Good night.